Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., all rights reserved.
Now back to ringside with the voice of small business and the champion of the entrepreneur.
Say it now, gentlemen. Undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
The small business advocate, Jim Blasingame.
Welcome back, 34 after. Thank you very much for joining me. Thanks for being part of my day. My pleasure to continue to be with you as always. We got our good buddy Rich Galen back on the show. Rich is a longtime Brain Trust member. He's a political operative of the Republican persuasion. That means he spins to the right. As he said, he's the publisher, the editor, and the chief accountant over at Mullings.com, which is an outstanding thrice-weekly cyber column that you're going to want to keep up with. And he's our good friend, Rich Galen. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jim. Good to be back with you.
It's good to be back. Good to have you back. Thanks for continuing to give us the perspective from inside the Beltway, and or as I that other name I call it, Bizarro World. Rich,
I've got one show that I'm on with some regularity. The host calls it the Logic Free Zone.
Yeah, Logic Free Zone, exactly. That's like when somebody around here, when somebody uses the word normal, I say we don't use that word around here.
Right, it has no meaning here.
That's right. Hey, Rich, we've got another scenario coming up here that's looking a little bit like your old boss Newt Gingrich in 1995. I guess President Clinton. One of the things I think is important to point out that I haven't heard a lot of people say, the reason there's a budget crisis right now, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, Rich, because you're the pro here, the reason we have a budget crisis right now between the parties is because the Democrats didn't pass the budget that they were supposed to pass back in the fourth quarter of the last fiscal year. Am I wrong about that?
It's the wrong word. They didn't pass the appropriations bill that they needed to pass, and it's a two-step process.
So the point is, the job didn't get done.
The job didn't get done. That's right. And what happens is that when in what's called regular order, if everything worked the way it's supposed to, you have the Appropriations Committee, you have the subcommittees on the Appropriations Committee. They know their stuff. So the Defense Appropriations people, they deal with that. The Ag Appropriations people deal with that. HHS.
All this is in the House.
In the House and the Senate. Where's the Senate?
Okay.
And they kind of come up with their appropriations numbers, and then it rolls up to the full committee, and then it goes to the House and the floor Senate, and they pass it, and everybody's funded for the next year. When they don't do that, and they didn't pass any last year, not a one in the Senate, so there were no appropriations bills. They have to. You hear this phrase all the time: a CR. CR is a continuing resolution. It's really not a resolution.
Can I stop you for a second? Isn't this one of the main things that they get their money every Friday for?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Isn't this one of the singular issues that we pay them to do?
Oh, I mean, yes. We can go off on this tangent forever. I mean, I'm absolutely opposed, for instance, for the Congress and or the president forming these commissions to come up with answers, because that's we're already paying people to do that.
Right.
And if they have the guts to do it, then quit and we'll get somebody else.
So bottom line, what's going to happen in this kerfuffle that's about to happen?
So to continue that tale of woe, the continuing resolution only went until March 4th, March whatever it is, March 6th.
4th, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it is March 4th. And then the money runs out, so they have to come up with another continuing resolution to get them to the end of the fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. And the House Republicans want to cut dramatically. They want to cut $60 billion.
$60 billion
out of the budget.
The president wants half that.
Yeah, and that's right. And then it's a matter of what gets cut. How do you get to the?
What do you think? Two things: who will win the dollar fight, and will the government get shut down?
The answer to the second one is no. I don't think so. Last week I actually did think they were headed in that direction, but the Senate Democrats.
Who's going to blink?
The Senate Democrats did on this first one, and I think that at the end, by the time we get down to September 30th and look backward, I suspect Republicans in the House would have forced $45 to $55 billion in cuts, and that's sort of within the margin
So
of
it'll be a
error.
compromise. The government won't get shut down. They'll compromise somewhere between 30 and 60. But here's the bottom line to me, Rich and folks. The Republicans have been guilty of this too. So this is
Yeah.
when I said Democrats, I only said that because that's who did it this time. I think we'll never do it because they're in charge of all this up there. They shouldn't get paid if they don't do their job, Rich. How do we fix that?
Well, that would require a law saying that we are not going to pay ourselves unless we do this. And almost every member of Congress has a spouse, and the spouses are saying, watch this, pal.
I wandered over into Bizarro world, didn't I? I wandered into that land of that sans logic, right?
That's right. How do you say ain't going to happen in your world?
What color is the sky in my world? Quick break. We're going to take a quick break, folks. Right back with Rich Galen. His website is mullings.com. We come back. Folks, there's rioting in the streets. They've stormed the government buildings. They're not going to take it anymore. I'm going to tell you where that's happening when we come back. 22.
Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., intended for the private use of our audience. Except as otherwise provided by copyright law, all other copying, redistribution, or publication without prior written consent is prohibited. All rights reserved. Prohibited. All rights reserved. Prohibited.